Testing 1, 2. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Unity of Chicago South Virtual Book Club, where we are live and broadcasting on many streams: YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, our website, and also LinkedIn. And I understand we will be broadcasting in February, even on Instagram, I believe. So that's exciting. I'm Reverend R. Cannon. Again, this is Unity of Chicago South, the online spiritual community that goes beyond walls. That's our claim to fame, that we take spirituality, New Thought online, beyond walls, wherever you are and whenever you're ready for it. Because if you don't catch it live, you always can catch it on one of our platforms or either on our website. The Virtual Book Club is every third Sunday of the month. And it allows us to share a reading, share material that we all have access to. Now, sometimes it has more of a biblical or religious lean, and other times it's just the spirituality and the principles. And this reading today is principle-based. It is so powerful. I've suggested it personally to several people because of the fact that it's a very short read and it's very concise in the fact that it just gets to the meat of what it is we need to do. You know, it's no extra philosophy. It's no particular lean. It's just straight out. If you do this, this will happen. And this is how you do it. And then it gives us some warnings too. So I would strongly suggest the opportunity to download it, that you do so. The read is, let's see, 14-point Arial produced a 5 single space printed page, 5 single space printed pages with 14 font. You know, that's not a lot of reading. That's very, very short. It's still available. So if you are watching this and you have not downloaded the material, Create Your Own Fate, then you can do so. Because of course, even though it's a short read, we are not able to cover everything that's in there. And there may be a nugget or two that pertains particularly to you. So I would strongly suggest, in any case, if you have downloaded and haven't finished reading it, read it. If you have not, then download it and read it. But we're going to cover some important points today. Now, I want to remind you, this is a live chat, so you can, submit your questions or comments on YouTube or on Facebook. And I say that because those are aggregated and brought to our service. And let me set that up now because I had something else set up. Thank you so much, Brother Carl. Appreciate you. So you can comment, you can question, you can Ask the question, and you can disagree. Now we'll get to as many of them as possible as we go through the process. Now you will be able to text. I'll get that number up to you. The text will be answered at a later date. We won't be trying to do that today. Boy, we got a lot of stuff going. Next week is Divine Feminine. We want to make sure that you're aware of that. That's where the ladies of Unity of Chicago South, Dr. and Reverend, give you cosmic meditation and practical application. In February, you might have caught it last week, we're going to provide you with a new library of tapes from some of the masters of New Thought that you can download in most cases or listen to right on the website. Again, there's nothing you have to do on your end. You don't have to give us your email address or anything like that, although we would like to connect with you. And of course, we'll give you that information, the possibility of doing that later on. We have classes on schedule to come online in March. That's really exciting because I love sharing this in a different format, even different from the virtual book club and the Talking the Fifth on the fifth Sundays of the month. Now, today's material is so important because it gives us the foundation of New Thought study in plain language with no ulterior motive at all. And all of it's done to help redirect our fate, F-A-T-E, into this life experience right now. The outline incorporates some basic questions, but remember again that you can submit your own questions throughout today's celebration. Wow. Now, the reading material itself begins with the realization of reality that was emphasized that each week we emphasize it each week when we open. And as we remind folks, as we remind ourselves in particular, that there's an infinite source available to everyone. It is there for each who seek it, no matter their race, religion, or gender. Believe what you may, but you should know that the source of the universe is also the source of each of us. Therefore, the principle supporting the stars is also the principle supporting each of us. As I declare this statement in the first person, I am declaring it for all. I am open and receptive to this divine living principle. Mother, Father, God, I am grateful. This is my declaration. This is my truth. And as I accept it, so it becomes. And all is well, and well indeed. The book, Making the Idea Real. The chapter that we're dealing with is creating your own faith. And it begins this way. When you discover that you are living in a world that you did not create and that does not correspond with your ideals, there is a tendency to break loose from external conditions at the earliest possible moment. Caution. But this tendency must be checked. Wow. So you find yourself, this is not the life I want to live. This is not the life I intended to live. This is not the life for me. You do all that, and then you find out that, wait a minute. You're not telling me that even with all of that, that I should just kind of live it? You know, I should just live the life without changing. I should just stay in the place that I'm saying is not for me. Well, that doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense at all. But if we continue to read and we continue to go forth in this material, we find why it does make sense. Because we first should ask ourselves, does this current life correspond with my ideal? And it's very important to understand my ideal. And then to go to the next step and say, I didn't cause this. He's saying that it doesn't matter who caused it. So am I living in the cause of my life or the effect of my life? Which world am I living in? And which one do I control? And he goes on to tell us that the fact is that the external conditions are simply effects from internal causes, that the external conditions are simply effects from the internal causes. And so long as those internal causes remain the same, you probably can finish this one. No attempt to change external conditions will prove a permanent value. The clothes in our lives, the car in our lives, the environment in our lives, those are the things that are holding us back. Those are the things that are preventing us from being all that we can be. That's what we hear. But the truth of the matter is not the case. That's not the case. See, changing the people, the place, the job impacts the external. The external. We were just told that unless you change the internal, whatever you do on the external is not permanent. Now, many of us, I know some of us will admit it, but many of us have tried that. We've changed our job, we've changed our relationships, we've changed our cities, we've changed our country even, and we find that old adage that's used in New Thought, wherever you go, you take yourself. So we took all of that internal strife with us into this new environment. And it was only when we were able to address the internal strife that we were going through that the external changed. And some of us never had an external change. Never had an external change. It never happened. Wow. That's kind of deep, right? It never happened. We never had that scenario where even after we did all these external things, did our life change. Now let's understand one thing, a caveat as they say. If you are in a violent situation, a situation that threatens your life, all the rules go out the door because you have to get yourself away from that in order to preserve your life. If you are incarcerated, you don't have the opportunity to freely move from your current situation to a new situation, but you do have the opportunity to move in your mind from where you are to where you want to be. Yes, ma'am. I see one of our people want to say something. Okay. Well, got you. I understand that some of the people are having a little issue. Let's see if we can do anything about that. Okay. I love technology. Let us see if we can change that at all. Well, I have no idea where they are because I just checked one of our platforms and it's working, so I'm not sure which platform they're on. So we're going to continue on as if everything is well. He says here, the author, so long as there are adverse causes in your inner life, there will be adverse effects in your outer life, no matter how many times you change from one condition to another or from one place to another. Emphasizing the fact that you can't change the inside by changing the outside. It's opposite. You have to change the inside, or you work on changing the inside, and that changes the outside. Many people, we work with a couple of programs with people that have been incarcerated and they came out. And the people that have I understand YouTube is not working. I would suggest going to maybe Facebook or our website. I just went over to the website and it seems to be clicking find. Now, of course, we won't have the opportunity to submit your chat over there, but you can actually see the service. And I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube. It should be up, but hey, it's technology. And these people would say that the reason that they were not did not go back into the system was because they made their mind up while they were in the system that they wouldn't return. And they did the things necessary while they were in the system to assure or to increase their odds that they would not return. And one of the things that they did, they studied, they GED in some cases, religious organizations, they got involved with religious organizations. And this helped them not come back, but that was an internal change. So again, sometimes we find ourselves in a place as being incarcerated that we cannot just move away. And other times, we find ourselves in a dangerous situation, and to remove ourselves from the situation physically is more important than any spiritual growth at that particular time. The first thing to initiate change is to understand that it starts from within. He says here, when you begin to take positive measures to change your own fate, the first thing to do is to resolve not, listen to this, very important, is to not to make any forceful effects to change external conditions without first changing the. This relationship is horrible. It's not physical, but it's just don't. The community that I live in, oh my God. And he's saying to us, yeah, all of those things may be true, but the cause of your displeasure, the cause of your pain is you. Reverend Harrell in a class once told me, she said, I don't know how to tell you this. I asked the question. I remember the question, but I don't remember it well enough to quote it. I remember what her answer was. I can quote that. And she said, well, Turner, I don't know how to tell you this. She said, but the problem is you. The problem is you. And that's usually what's going on. The problem, situation, the understanding is us. And once we begin to clear where we are with the circumstance, situation, whatever it may be, it changes. Now, when you are in what let us call it orthodox thinking, we think that our praying is going to change Joe or whatever it might be. But when you move into metaphysics, when you move into new thought, you understand that our praying, our meditation, whatever it is, whatever particular practice we have, changes us. And as it changes us, we see things differently out there. Now, sometimes we see things differently to the point that we say, we no longer want that in my life. I don't want that anymore. I see it differently. I'm not mad at it, but I see it differently now because I've done the work on me. I've done the things I need to do to raise my consciousness. Sometimes the issue is us. Here he says, let outer things be as they are for a time being. Well, you're telling me that I'm in this community that I don't like, and you're saying just stay there. Don't just let it be right now, because your work is not trying to change the community. Your work is not being upset with the housing. Your work is not any of those external issues. Your work is to correct how you are responding, how you see them. That's your work. And he says, so if you are working out here trying to change that, and the work you need to do is in here, can you see how that can be counterproductive? Because what really needs to happen is I need to change. And I keep trying to change them, it, the thing, but it's me that needs to change. Now understand, when I change, doesn't mean that this is going to be okay. when I change, I may look at the situation and say, I don't need to be in this neighborhood, this community anymore, for whatever reason. And when I move into a new community, I take a new me with me into that community. I think that's the big thing is if I continue to try to look on the outside and see stuff on the outside, and that's the problem, I'm going to take the old me into the new neighborhood. And I'm the one that creates the issues in my life. I'm looking out there and I need to do the work in here. I think there's a scripture that kind of addresses that. A double-minded person has problems in all their ways because it's out there, but it's about me, but it's out there. It's out there. I'm looking out there and I need to be in here. I need to only be in here, not in here and out there. Only all my 100% of my energies need to be here, not there. I need to be single-minded in my effort to address me. Single-minded in my effort to address me. He says, let the outer things be as they are for the time being and continue to remain where you are until you can open the door to better things. You open the door to the work you're doing inside. Although you are letting things be as they are in the external sense, and although you are not forcing yourself into different places or circumstances, still your purpose must be to entirely remake yourself. It sounds hard, but it's just straight up. You know what I'm saying? It's just straight up. It's not, no. He's giving it to us, and that's why this reading, a little courage to take that one in, because, it's so easy to say the other made me do it. The other made me this way. The other made me not be responsible. The other made me not know how to count money. The other made me drink, take drugs. The other made me. My parents weren't good enough. My teachers weren't the right people. We can go on and on and on. But he's saying, no, you came into this situation because of your own judgment. Now, we're not talking about there was no influence from these other people, but at some point you made a judgment whether this is good or bad, whether this is who I want to be or not, whether this is my ideal of myself or not, at some point, right? And when we get to that point, if we decide, I'm not going to rock the boat, I'm just going to do what folks say. I'm just going to follow what folks tell me to follow. That's a judgment call. And he's letting us know, the author's letting us know, that's a judgment call. And that was your judgment. And that's how you got here. Now, don't continue to blame those folks and don't feel bad about where you were. You didn't know to the degree that you can know. And now this is being shared with you, so you should know. You should know. And he says that if you do not work on yourself and get yourself right, the same judgment that got you where you are is going to mislead you again. So you have to create a new foundation for your judgment. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yep. Let me go on. Let you learn a little bit more about us, how you can learn more about us, right there. If you have not improved yourself in any manner, whatever, your judgment will be just as inferior and unreliable as it was before. Your object is not to set yourself free from the false world in which you are living now and then enter some other world that is not your own. What? I'm better and I got the clothes, I got the money, I got the status in my mind to be in this different situation, whatever it is. But I don't have the mindset. I don't have the judgment, as he calls it. I'm not ready. It's kind of like sports. Some of the sports, they have what they call a minor league, and they say, you're not ready for the major leagues yet. You're not ready for the big time yet. You've got some work to do. And sometimes that we find ourselves in that situation where we're not ready for the next step because we have work to do. And he tightens it up. The author tightens it up and says, it's on judgment. It's on judgment. It's on judgment. So when your judgment is correct, when you are judging righteous judgment, then all of a sudden you're able to appreciate and have staying power in a new situation. What does that mean? Yep. I mean, many of you have heard the stories of people who have hit the lottery and, a year later, 2 years later, they're broke. Consciousness never changed. Judgment never changed. The way they looked at life never changed. It must change in order for the external to change. So as long as you're constantly thinking about external changes, your mind cannot concentrate on internal changes. There's that double-minded situation again. If only I get this new house. If only I get this new fill in the blank. Then my life will change. When the real statement is, if only I could change the way I see life, my life will change the way I see it. How about that? Right there. Here's a hard one. As you yourself are the cause of the new world which you are trying to create, you must recreate yourself before you can create the external world you desire. Just think about that for a minute. This responsibility is now being put totally on you. Totally on you. It's saying you are now getting ready to create the world that you want. You're going to recreate your life by creating the world that you want. But before you can move into that world, you must make sure that you create it internally. Some people say vision boards. That's part of that. That's one of the ways to participate in that. But that's not enough. It's not just for things. He's talking about your fate, your life experience. It's more than a vision board, but a vision board can help. So you say, what are you saying? I don't need a vision board? I'm saying if you use vision boards, that's fine. But understand there's a limitation because that vision board pictures you in a particular situation. You want to change the way you're thinking. So unless you have some brain pictures up there, some whole new way of seeing things up there, new eyeballs, things like that, you're going to get where you want to go in that particular scenario. But will that take you to where you have a different life experience? Total. The change has to be within us. The divine law says, first things first. Just think about it. Simple statement. First things first. Boy, when I get I'm going to have when I become then I will live when I become the peace in my life, PEACE, when I become the joy in my life, when I become conscious of my divinity in my life. We can go on and on, but it's when I become these things that something happens out here. So it's a reversal of how we may have interpreted life in the past. Just a reversal. It's not extremely different, but it is challenging because many of us, some of us were raised properly and we understand it and we do it, but many of us were not. And that's what we get into earlier. It's not the fault of whoever were our mentors, parents, teachers, neighbors, environment. That doesn't matter anymore. What matters now is the fact that I now know that I can create the life that I want, the ideal life that I want. And this is how I can do it. Now, am I going to linger in the past about who didn't do what, who shot John, as they used to say? Or am I going to concentrate right now, as he said, be single-minded in my purpose and concentrate on changing my thinking, changing how I see it, knowing that what will follow is a change in what's out here. It's about self-examination without being prejudiced, meaning I'm not going to blame anyone, and I'm not going to say that I'm okay in this area, even though my life is not right. I'm just going to have a clear, clean self-examination of where I am, how I think. And I don't even have to get into, well, I think this way, so this happened, but what's going on with me right now? And then as I do this self-examination, as I conduct this self-examination, I will find areas in my thinking, in my viewing of the world that I can address to change them, to see if it will bring about a better life experience for me. Then he gives us 2 steps with this self-examination. First, find the reason why you are living in your present adverse environments, and then proceed to remove that cause. Well, Rev, sounds like you're saying if there's some people in my life, I should remove them. Well, Rev, it sounds like you're saying if I'm in a bad environment, then I should remove it. First, what? Find the reason why you are living in your present adverse environment. Wow, first. So let's take parents. Most of us had parents. Adopted, birth, till we were 18, till we were 16. Had some parents. My parents were fill in the blank. And therefore I am fill in the blank. My parents thought fill in the blank. Therefore I think fill in the blank. If in fact that is why you are where you are, if that is the case, why you are where you are, then let us say that I can now look at, I don't have to think that way. I don't have to blame them, but I don't have to think that way because the way I think is causing the problems in my life. So therefore I need to stop thinking that way, but I know that I got here because of how I was raised, whatever it might be. And I'm not mad at them. I just need to identify it so I can change it, so I can create a new environment for myself. Now, his answer is rather challenging. He says, in most cases, the principal reason is a lack of ability or the lack of power to apply the ability you possess. And you say, wait a minute, you just talked about parents and environment. What is the ability that you possess? Think about that. You possess the ability to change the way that you think. You possess the ability to change your mind. You possess that ability. I don't care whatever else you have, but you have that. And he says, using that to change the circumstances that you're in. No matter who may not have supported your growth to this point, it doesn't matter. Again, you have the ability to change and apply new thinking to the situation. He says you must remove inability by becoming more proficient. And as soon as you are competent to render better services, you will readily find a better place. Let's talk about that as we go forward and finish it up. But all difficulties that may be met in this connection may readily be removed through the principle of modern metaphysics. We're back at the thinking. We're back at the thinking. We're still back at we're in the mind. We're not in the outer, we're in the inner. and to believe that the thoughts that I think create the things that I have. That's a metaphysical concept, and I shared that with many of you last week as we talked about, as I mentioned, Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, one of her famous sayings from the platform. The thoughts that I have create the things in my life. You say, well, I've got some physical challenges, some health challenges, and I don't think my thoughts got me there. This is where I kind of vary from our teachings, because I don't know. And I don't think everyone else knows either. I think some people may know, but not everyone. I like to say, well, everything that happens to you because of some thinking you had. Well, I don't know. I'm sure that I can trace it back to when I was 7 years old, thinking about how painful something might be. And that may have later on came up in my life, possibly. But what about, children that were born with different issues? What did they think? How did they think of things? And of course, then they say, well, there was a life before this life, and they are playing it out and da-da-da-da-da. And the spirit has I don't have an answer. Maybe you don't either. Maybe that's not something we really need to question, because we don't have the ability to get a hold of it, a handle on it. So maybe we need to move beyond that, right? And say, okay, right now, the thinking that I'm doing can recreate my life. The thinking that I've done has influenced my life to this point. It's not everything that has happened in my life has been my thoughts. Maybe, maybe not. It's not important. I'm starting from here. I'm starting from now. And as I start from here and now, I can recreate my life in the manner that I want. According to this particular reading, I can do that because my mind, metaphysically, my thoughts dictate the life that I can have. Yeah? Right? So we go forward, in other words. Don't beat ourselves up on the past. Let us go forward with the understanding that I have the power, the ability, I possess the ability to influence my own thinking. And as I influence my own thinking, I already know that that's going to affect my external. But my job is internally affecting my own thinking to move my thinking into concert with the ideal that I want in my life. Well, this is a good point right here that goes along with what I just mentioned about let's start right here. Let's be in this moment right now and not spend a lot of time on what has happened, what has occurred. He says here, do not resist present conditions. You prolong their existence by so doing. Whatever comes, meet all things in the attitude of perfect harmony, and you will find that all things, even the most adverse, can be readily handled and turned into good account. We all know the marvelous power of the person who can harmonize contending factors, be there their own life or in their circumstances. It's a word here that is so tremendously important that if you don't get anything else today at all from this virtual book club, from Unity of Chicago South, from Reverend Arkan, nothing else, harmonize, harmony, harmonize, harmony. How can I harmonize with your hint? The negative situation is out of your control. Whatever the circumstance is out of your control. But the idea of being in harmony with the movement, the positive movement of the universe, is totally in your control. You possess the ability to put yourself in harmony with the universe. So that is where your effort is best used. Harmonizing with the universe. Not harmonizing with the pain, not harmonizing. Hey, I feel your pain. I empathize with your pain. I don't disregard your pain. But as I harmonize with the universe, I also understand that if I can help you in your pain, it will come through my harmony with the universe by receiving ideas, receiving direction on what I need to do next. But putting my energy in your situation does not help what I need to do. So whatever's going on in our lives, if we can find a way to harmonize our thinking, harmonize our movement with the universe. Some people do it with Tai Chi. They just are moving with the universe. They're just getting into the flow. And we want to do that with our mind. But to do that with our mind, we first have to have an idea of what we believe the universe, the vibrations, God, if you would. What is that movement? Is it a movement of good? Is it a movement to a positive? Or does it go in and out? Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. So we want to understand that we want to harmonize with a good force, whatever we need to call it. Doesn't matter. Whatever we need to call it. How do you do it? You told me all this stuff, what I have to do, but would you give me some help? Come on, Rev, give me some help. Practice oneness and work to experience the harmony within that oneness. Woo, boy. What does that mean? I am one with the universe. I am one with all things. In that oneness, there's a peace. If I really believe that, I don't have an enemy in this work that I'm doing. I'm not talking about when I walk out the door and I'm looking around. I'm talking about in this work that I'm doing, there are no enemies. There is nothing against me. I'm in the oneness of the universe, whatever I have to call it. And in that oneness, there is peace. There is harmony. There's harmony. Here's a hint. See spirit not as a warrior, but as a harmonizer that opens the door of peace in all situations. Not my peace, but your peace flowing through the situation. Not my will, but your will be done as I move, and have my being away from this threat, whatever it is. Away from this threat. I'm not going to stand here. Reminds me of a story. I think we have enough time. Reminds me of a story I read of a Orthodox minister in Africa who believed in Daniel and the lion's den. So he took his Bible and he snuck in the lion's den at the zoo. They tried to keep him out. He snuck his way in. And he stood there and he said, "Okay, lion, whoa, whoa," and whatever words he used. And the lion looked at him and said, "I don't know why you're here. I don't understand why you're here." And he's like, "I'm here because, lion and lion's den, and I know I can overcome because the Bible said it, blah, blah, blah." Long story short, eventually the lion got tired of his monkey self and tore him up, lit him up, Bible and all. Say, well, that's funny. It's not a funny story. It's a tragic story because of him imposing himself where he didn't belong and him believing a fairy tale. The lion had to be put down. The lion had to be put down. So it's not, I'm going into a threat with my Bible or with my harmonized God, and I know it's going to be good because I'm here. It's, hey, tell me how to remove myself from the situation. Tell me how to get around the situation. I might have to walk through it to get out of it. I don't know, but that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in trying to overcome something. I don't need to overcome it. I need to be removed. It's a threat. I need to remove myself from it. Thank you, Father. Learn to harmonize the contending factors in your own life and experience, and you will find yourself entering new worlds where circumstances are more congenial and opportunities far greater. And I see we're at it. We're gonna have to shut it down. We usually try to go 45, 50 minutes. If your present friends are not to your liking, admire them. Nevertheless, for every good quality that they may possess. Emphasize their good qualities and ignore everything in their nature that seems inferior. Harmonize. I'm looking for ways to be in harmony with the universe. I'm looking for ways to be in harmony with the good. It doesn't mean I don't see it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that my focus, my energies, my thinking are on other things that also exist. That also exists. It reminds me, in this real quick, of my grandmother on my father's side. And she thought everything and everybody was good. At least that's how she portrayed everything. And she had a pretty special life. I didn't understand it. How can that person is not good? I don't believe that. You could see they're rotten. But she understood, whether she understood that she understood or not, she practiced seeing the good. Seeing the good. Practice faith and truth. Faith in the presence of good and the truth that in oneness there must be good. But not all good is for all people. Not all good is for all people. Your good may not be my good. Their good may not fit the good required in your life. Because there is a kind of misfit, don't cast aspersions upon their character. Oh, look what they doing. You know that's low-life dog, right? It doesn't fit you. I don't really care because I'm working on me. And once I work on me, if this stuff really works, they'll no longer be in my life or they'll be changed. Okay, I will say again, if you have not downloaded it, please do download it. As I close with this one thing, it says, if you do this, this will help you develop superior qualities in yourself. Remember your goal. Remember your goal. Make yourself over in the image and likeness of the life you desire. This is Reverend Arkin. Thanks for joining me today with our virtual book club. Please come back again. If you didn't get it, if you had some problems, please go over to the website. It will be up in a day or two, and it will also be some excerpts out on the social media. Again, thank you so much. And on behalf of the family, the Unity of Chicago South, spiritual family and community, we say thank you for today. And until next time, namaste.